Hello, my name is Alistair, and I'm a professional software developer with more than 15 years experience. I'm going to try to keep all the information short, concise. If you see something that probably could have been done a better way, that is probably because it could have been done a better way, but I didn't. So there we go. So first off, we need to install some packages. This is going to be setting up Entity Framework and only that. We're going to do one migration as well. So we need to get some packages, and we go to our dependencies and say manage NuGet packages. I'm going to try to explain everything as I'm doing it, like you are an idiot. It doesn't mean that I think you're an idiot. Entity Framework core. Oh, it's there already. Okay, we search again. Fine. So I'm going to get a couple of packages simply because I know I'm going to be needing them later on, and we're just going to go with latest stable. So install, and we accept everything because it's Microsoft, and in Microsoft we trust. So that's the base one, the core. Let's just fold out here so we can see. Yes, so we have that. And the next one I want to get is design. Yes, latest stable, and we accept everything. And we want to get SQL Server. And again, we don't need all this for now, but we will later on. And the last one is tools. And we accept everything. Great. So we have the packages. Ta-da! Lovely jubbly. Cool. Done with that. So I have already set up a local database. It's called LearnEF because, I'm creative like that. And currently it has no tables. So what we need to do now is to create a context. And I like to do the thing where, just in order to have some structure, is that I will create a folder. I will call it repository because I can spell. And then we need to create a context file, context class, I guess, a DB context class. So we're going to create a class, and I'm going to call it demo context. Doesn't really matter. Well, I guess it kind of matters. And we're going to do file scoping because it's nice. So there we go. I need to set that up so that just happens automatically. So we need to inherit DB context. Oh, and we need to add a reference. Great. So this is our context file, and basically this is where we set up our tables, our data sets, and it's also where we can do our onConfigure. So in order to provide a connection string, there's many ways to do this, but I'm just going to do this because it's quick and dirty and nice. We're going to do a protected override void onConfiguring. Yes. So that gives us the option builder. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to say options builder, use SQL Server, and then we're going to supply a connection string due to reasons. No, we need a connection string. And in this case, I can fetch it here. Now, what you normally would do is probably add it to app config, app settings, something, or you might fetch it from Azure or whatever. But for ease of use and readability, I'm just going to slap it in here. So that's good. Now we need to make sure that it's actually, that we add the context. So the next thing we need to do is to go into program. We're going to go and add our lovely DB context. And that's builder, services, add DB context. And in this case, it's going to be demo context. Oh, that's good. And now we're basically ready. So I'm going to set up the first model, and we're going to do a migration. We're going to add a migration, and we're going to update the database. But we're basically done with the setup now. Now we have Entity Framework, so that's really nice and simple. So a new folder, we will call it models, because it will contain more than one. And we're going to do a new item, a class, and let's call it movie, because it has to be something, and I don't want to do a bookstore. That used to be the thing, like everyone did a bookstore. So the class needs some fields. I will go into this in another video, but let's do int ID and title, and let's do an int year. So the year the movie was made. It doesn't really matter. So we go back to our DB context, and here we create our DB set. So yes, our public DB set, and it's going to be a set of our movies. So movie. Let's just resolve this. Adding a reference to our repository model. We're going to call it movies. We're going to do get set. It was actually that easy. I guess we want to. No, I will cover this in a. Actually, let's just give this a default value for now. Eating equals new grid. So we will have a grid being the ID. We will have a string being the title, and int being the year, and we will make sure that it gets a new grid every time we create one. So basically we don't need the setter, it doesn't matter. So now we are actually ready to create our first migration. So we go into the package manager. Okay, I was expecting a cursor. And we're going to do add migration, and we're going to give it a lovely name. We call it initial because it's the first one, and press enter. Now it will build, hopefully, if I didn't mess anything up. It succeeded. Okay, it's just a bit slow. That's lovely. And it will auto-generate the migration class for you. Isn't that just awesome? So you've noticed that now you have a new folder with a snapshot and the migration you created. And right now, absolutely nothing has happened in our database, and that's a mistake. So what we do to apply our migrations is really simple. Just go update database and press enter. And you will see it has now applied the migration. Let's try and refresh. Whoops! Now we have two tables. So there's a table for our movies, the movie class we did, and then there's a table called EF migration history. Let's view data of that as well. And as you can see, there is our first migration. So it's literally that easy, and now you are up and running with the Entity Framework Core. So today we're going to talk shortly about the data models. And one of the things I like about Entity Framework is the opportunity to do code first. Now, in the last episode where we set everything up, I created one data set called movie. And that's all fine, but it's also kind of boring. Like we should have more. So let's add a new one. It's a new item, and let's call it production company. Yes, why not? So we'll add that, and we need something else, like something like actor. Actor, that's a good one. Actor. Yes. So we have those. So first thing I want to do is I want to change the ID to being an int, because data efficiency and stuff like that. There's no reason for a GWT because we're not going to have that many records. So let's just make it kind of simple. Bum bum. So to keep it really simple, we're going to specify this as being okay. Here we go. We're going to specify this as being the primary key, so key, and we're going to give it another attribute called database generated. Oh, and it helps us already. So database generated option identity, and this will by default just auto increment, which is really nice. Then for our movie property, we want to add production company, like this. That's really bad naming, but hey, we know what it is. So, and since a movie can have a lot of actors, we're going to do one to many, and that's going to be a public list actor. Yes, actor, and call it actors. Why not? And we're probably going to. We should initialize this, shouldn't we? So, yeah, let's do that. Just to keep it kind of nice. Good. And let's copy this and add this to our public class actor, so it has an ID. And let's do our required public string name. And honestly, we're going to need the basic same information for the production company. I decided to do this to do a one-to-one relation, and do a one-to-many, so we can see how that actually works when we do our migrations. So I did a little bit of cleanup in order to do a new initial migration. So we need to create a migration again, and I'm going to call it initial again, and we are going to apply it again. So add migrate. This is not case sensitive. It's just me having a habit. Initial, and the name doesn't really matter. You can call it Ongo Bongo if you want to, but initial. Oh, I did a boo-boo, as you will see in a minute. Perfect. So I can show you, because I was too fast. So we have created the tables. Why? It creates the tables. That's interesting. So it just goes into. Well, I learned something new. Anywho, we still need to go in here and go public db set production company, and it will have a suggestion, and I'm going to do a improper name, and we're going to go get set, and that's all good. And we will do the same thing for actors. Now we're still going to need this in order to access the tables from our context, which I will cover in the next episode. So this is a short one. Anywho, so if we go and have a look at our initial migration, we can see that we have the migration builder and it creates the table production company. That's all good. Primary key is set to be ID as we specified in our in our class. Yes, and it is being set to identity, which is lovely. And basically the same thing for actor. And as you can see here, it has created a foreign key to a production company ID, which is really nice. And it has done nothing in regards to actors. Has it? Production company? Yeah. It should have. Yes. I forgot to add something. So let's go back to demo context and do protected override void on model creating. Good. And then we have our model builder. Oh, nope, too fast. Model builder. And our entity movie. And it has many and actors. Yes. Nope. And let's see if that actually did anything. Going to create a new migration called actors fix. Let's see what that does. It did something. Good. Good. Might need to add something. I think we might need to add with many. Nope, that's fine. It's fine, it's all good. So forget that. Anywho, so let's try to update our database and see what we actually get. Cool. And let's refresh. So we have our actors, and let's just let's do a view designer.
One eternity later.
There we go. So that was slow. So for actors, we now have a movie ID, and it's going to be a little messy, but this is not a course about database design. It's about something else. Yes. But this is going to result in duplicate data quite violently. Normally you would have a reference table, but we can look at setting that up later. And let's have a look at our movie as well. Snappy. And here we have ID title as an invarchar, And when we look at ID, we can see it's an identity. Null is not allowed. If we wanted to allow something to be null, it is as simple as just making that thing nullable. So to make it nullable, we go this. And we create a migration. Migration nullable. Yeah, why not? And you can see alter column, blah, 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 blah. Now it's allowed to be nullable. And let's update the database. And when we go and look at let's just clean up a little bit here because. And we look at the designer. You now see that here it's allowed to be null. So I highly recommend playing around with the different data types here. Also to kind of learn what to use and when to use it. The int might be better as a long. If you're going to have a lot of records. In this case, int is just absolutely perfect, just fine. But yeah, this is really basic how to set up your models, how to add them to migrations and run those migrations. And as you can see, the migration table is being filled fairly quickly with the migrations we have run. If you for some reason want to start a clean, what you would do is delete the tables, which you're not allowed to because the object is open. Yes. Anywho, so if you want to do a clean sweep, just simply delete the tables. They're gone. Delete the migration folder. That one is gone. Let's create a new migration. Add migration initial. And now we have everything in one. And let's just update database. Cool. Let's refresh. And the tables are there again. Cool. So this was really basic how to set up the models. We will dive into what you can do with the different models later on when we start doing curing and insert and update and all that good stuff. But for now, that's it. Pretty simple. Hope it made sense. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. If I don't answer, someone smarter than me probably will. That's one cool thing about developers is that we like to show how smart we are. And one of the easiest ways to do that is by answering questions. So it's time to do some CRUD. And that means creating, reading, updating, and deleting. Except we won't be doing a lot of reading, but we will start to add data. So in the last video, we added these three tables. We have production companies, movies, and actors. And in hindsight, it would have been smarter just to do this in a console app, but I decided to do it as a web API. So we have Swagger, so it's fine. We can do our stuff, and I'm too lazy to start over. So let's start by making sure that we have our context, right? So private demo context, and we do our public demo controller. This is just basic like dependency injection. So demo context. We set demo context to be equal to demo context, and now we have demo context. That's nice. That's really nice. Except we don't dispose and stuff like that, but doesn't matter. Does it? No, it doesn't. Dependency injection. It will handle it for us. So that was a lot of ramble. So I have this post void thing, so we can test this out in Swagger. So I will write some code, and then we will do a step through, right? I'll add a breakpoint, and it's all good. So first we want to create a new movie. Let's start with that because creating is good. I mean, let's call it new movie because we have zero imagination. And we'll call that new movie. There we go. Great. Now, the ID is auto-incremented, but let's let the title be test, because why not? And our nullable year should not be a new daytime, because I decided to add that as that's maybe a mistake. Anywho, that's an int. So let's no 9083. Now guess how old I am. And production company, we want to set that to be a new production company. And that production company has a name of Test Company. Great. And actors, we want to set that to be a new list of actors. Right? Something like that. Let's call him someone. What do we have? Jim Carrey. He would be in a test movie. I was drunk for a second. So name equals Jim Carrey. Just like that. Not too important. And another new actor called something. What? Let's go with Megan Fox. That's a good name, right? And nope. And like this, nope. And like this. And why does it complain? No, because it's a new list. There we go. Now it's happy. And we have our new movie. And it should be all good and fine. So, really, really simple. Oh, yeah, that will solve everything. So, we have our demo context. So let's do that. Demo context dot. And then we have our data DB sets. In this case, let's just add our movie. Movies, add, and new movie. It's basically, being a developer today is just you tapping. Have you noticed that? Anywho, ChatGPT is going to take over anyway. And when we have done this, we have to do save changes. You can also do a save changes async, but since we're not doing async right now, let's just do it sync. And that is basically it. So let's go and try that out. Sure, why not? Here we go. Try it out and execute. And here we go. So we have our new movie. Let's do a step. And if we inspect that, we can see that that movie consists of production company, test company, actors, which has two cases of yes. Yeah. Just notice that the ID is null. That might be due to it not being saved to the database. So we add it to our DB set and we save the changes. And it should be all good. So we didn't get any errors anyway, so that's good. And let's stop running it, because the only way we can really test if this happened is by doing something like view data. And here's our movie. And let's see what it did in access. movie ID 1, movie ID 1, Megan Fox, Jim Carrey. That's a combination. And just for good measure, let's look at the production company as well. We have test company 1. So it's all good. It's working. And I closed down the. Actually. And we're back again. So my headset just decided to turn off. That's lovely jubbly. But yeah, that's pretty simple. Good. And let's open our controller again. So now we have added the movie. Let's do test 2 as well. And that will be from. Let's do something recent. And I can show the issue I had with or the problem with the way we did many to many, because it should have been a one to many, but we'll fix that in another episode where we dive a little bit more into model binding and stuff like that. For now, let's just keep it simple and say that why can't I think of any actors right now? Normally I'm just Paul Rudd. He's funny, right? And Samuel L. Jackson. They seem like they would be a cool couple. Good. Yes. And let's do an update. Why not? Because I'm not sure that Jim Carrey is actually spelled like that. So we will add this movie just for the kick of it. But let's go and fetch Jim Carrey some way or another. So let's go to actors and view data. So he has ID 1. I'm pretty sure his name is spelled correctly, but we're going to spell it incorrectly now. So ID 1. So var edit actor. And we're going to say context. We're going to say actors. And we're going to say where ID equals 1. And we're going to do it as a single or default. Why not? Oh, there we go. So now we have our actor. We're going to say edit actor, name equals. His name is actually James. So let's do James Carrey. Good. Now it wants us to check if actor is null, so let's just do that, because if actor. This is so ugly, but let's do it like this. Because it's prettier. Up. Up. Up, up, up. There we go. So we can just go context, actors, update, and pass in the entity that we just fetched. And Entity Framework will actually do the rest for us. So the SQL statement will be update, blah, 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 set, where, blah, 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 blah. Now we have our entity, our object, and we can manipulate it. We can then go in and say, hey, update this specific object, and we can go demo context save changes to make sure that we actually save the changes. I don't need this. Nope. So this is all good. Yes, it is. So let's try to run that. I don't know why it insists on booting up on my secondary monitor, but it does. So let's execute. So we have our edit actor. Let's see if it actually finds something. It does. And we can see we have Jim Carrey. So it is not null. We will set the name to James Carrey because he's formal like that. We will update the entity in actors and we will save our changes. And there we go. Cool. Let's stop it. And let's look at the database. And his name is now James Carrey, and also Samuel L. Jackson and Paul Rudd has been added. So that's good too. So finally, nope, wrong. Here we go. So finally, let's delete it, and I'll just add another company. And for shit and giggles, let's fetch one of the production companies that we already have, right? So we can go demo context, production companies, and we can say first. Now we know that first of default would be the right way and then handle null exception and all that good stuff, but we know that we have one, so it's not really a problem. And yeah, let me show you the problem with the Samuel Jackson thing, because we're going to have duplicates, and the same thing with Paul Rudd. No, that's some actor I would like to delete. That's a really annoying actor. Cool. Oh, but we're not going to delete him. Anywho, so keeping it simple. Oh. Let's do the deletion. Why not? So let's do var deleted actor. You know what? Actor to delete. And we will again do demo context. And we will do actors. And we will do where ID equals. Let's delete Paul Rudd. So that would probably be number 4. Right? Let's go and see. Yeah, Paul Rudd. Oh, I really like him. That's a shame. He probably don't care. If actor to delete. Why? Oh, Visual Studio, sometimes it helps and it's cool. Other times it really doesn't help that much. So we will do a demo context actors, and this time we will go remove and actor to delete. And I guess you have guessed it, but we have to do the save changes. So that is basically how to delete an actor. Let's just run it so we can see that it actually works, because it's always fine to. Jesus, what's with the secondary monitor? Anywho, it's always good to show that the stuff you say works actually works, right? So we are getting Paul Rudd. Let's have a look. There he is. Actor to delete is not null. It's not. Please do remove and save changes and continue. Good. Let's see if I close the window like this. That might be good. Yes, and let's refresh. So Paul Rudd is gone, but now we have 2 Samuel Jacksons. That's actually dumb. Nah. So let's remove this one. Let's update number 5 to be Paul Rudd. Oh, that is also kind of showing the issue with the many-to-many thing that I decided to do. That was kind of dumb. Because, well, now we have 2 Samuel L. Jacksons, and ideally we would have a table with the actor ID and the movie ID. So we're going to do a little bit of reading using Entity Framework. So Again, this would have been easier if I had been smart and set up a console application, but I didn't. I decided to do a web API, so here we are. So let's just quickly do endpoint reading some data, and let's say a list of movies is what we want, and let's call it read. Cool. So really basic. We have our context, and we get that with the dependency injection. You can go back and watch episode 3, where I talk a little bit more about that, but it's basically what we set up in program. So we have it here. Boom. So we have our lovely context. Great. So in read, everything is running a bit slow. We're going to fetch all our data and return it. Let's start with that, because it's really easy. So we will just go return. We have our demo context, and we have our movies, and we're going to return that as a list. There we go. And let's run that and see what happens.
One eternity later.
And here we go. That took some sweet time. Anywho, again, using Swagger, which just kind of comes pre-installed when you create an empty web API project. That's kind of clever. We can try out our new endpoint. Let's execute. And there we go. So the response is all 3 movies. That's really easy, right? Anywho, let's go back in and do some stuff. So instead of returning the movies, well, it's basic link, right? Let's do movies to return. So you can do everything here that you would do with link. So we can do where ID is bigger than 1. And if we run that, oh, nope, that won't do anything. Because we're not returning it. Well done. And let's try it out. We'll execute it. And now ID is 1 is not in the result set. So it is basic lambda that we are going to use here. So you have the where, select, all that good stuff. Instead of where to exclude number 1, we could do skip. Oh, there we go. Skip 1, and we get the same result. So querying with Entity Framework is just basic lambda. So you can do your group by, your joins, all that good stuff. You just do it from demo context. So just like if you created a list yourself, this is what you get. As long as you have the DB set in your context file. And that's what these lovely guys do for you. Quite clever, right? So a short episode, but there really isn't much to it. Querying against the database is, well, it's also basically what we, like the same thing we did for getting an actor to edit. Is we did a query where single or default. We changed the name, and we saved our changes, and that's all good. So let's add a little bit more room for the package manager console, because that's what I'm using. It's not really that important. But anywho, to add a migration, we simply go add migration, and we give it a name. And let's, in this case, just call it test. It will build a solution, and it will add the migration. And that's fairly easy. The migration will have an up and a down, and when you do database update, it will run whatever is in up. Now, since we didn't have anything, we haven't changed our DB set models, our data models, so this is empty. If I did a change, you would get an alter column or whatever you might have changed. As in initial, you can see that the migration builder has the create table, adding columns and stuff like that. And all this is auto-generated, which is super nice, but yeah. So this migration is obviously a mistake. So we can try to do a remove migration test and see what that. So in order to remove the migration we just added, we do not remove migration and the name. We simply go remove migration. And you can see it has removed the test migration, and it has reverted the model snapshot, which is kind of clever. So it will remove the migrations that hasn't yet been run or added to the Entity Framework migration history. So that's good to know. I actually thought that I had to specify, but apparently no. I think I'm confusing it with something else. Doesn't matter. Now, Migration Framework can do more cool stuff. Like let's do add migration custom SQL. Let's do that. So even though it's auto-generated, it's pretty much free for you to manipulate as you want. So let's say that that I want to make sure that a certain actor always was in the database. So when my colleague ran the migration on his local development environment, he also had this actor in his database. We could do something pretty simple like a migration builder, and then it has an SQL. And we go like this. Oh, lovely, right? And now we can actually inject an SQL statement. So insert into actors name and movie, something like that. Anyway, yeah, that's how you do it, right? It's been a while since I've actually been doing any proper SQL, old school. And we will let that value and movie 2. And this actor's name is going to be called injected actor. Cool. So now when we run update database, this little SQL statement should be fired. And you can do this like you can create stored procedures, views, whatever, like this. You also have the option to let's say if you want to create a table that isn't based on a model, you can still create the table. That's fine. You can create the table and then do the model afterwards, or you can just use this to, like the relations table that I wanted to add between the movies and actors, so we didn't have duplicate actors. This could be a fairly easy way to make sure that that table got created. So let's run this and see if it actually adds the actor, right? So we will go update database. Build started, build succeeded, and it didn't like that. Invalid column name movie. Ah, perfect. Well done. So let's update the database again. And there we go. Now it's applied. I just have to actually call them the right things. And here we have injected actor. So this is fairly clever if you have data that you need to have in the database. Like, you know this is going to be needed at some point. Transactions is basically a way of controlling what gets thrown into the database and why, and yeah. So it's a way to have control over the transaction between the software and the database. And in order to use transactions, we need using transactions, because I am imaginative like that. And from our demo context .database, we have a method called begin transaction. So we have a transaction now. And basically what we can do is that as soon as all these things have been applied, save database, all that good stuff, now we need to add a transaction commit. And now the changes are saved. Why is this smart? Well, for several reasons. First of all, we might have a situation where we get to add the movie, but the needed actor. Yeah, let's add a new actor. Actually, that makes sense. So let's go. Call it extra actor. Let that be a new actor with the name of Al Pacino. Cool. And we have our new movie. And we have our actors. And let's add our extra actor. That's nice and easy, right? And then let's do a demo context movies update new movie. So the new movie should be updated with the extra actor we just added, and we do a save changes. Now let's say that for some reason this fails. We still want a movie in the database. Or maybe we don't want the movie in the database. Yeah, let's take that scenario first. So we don't want the movie in the database if this actually fails. So we can do a try. And we also do the catch, exception. And here's when it becomes fairly clever, because it gives us the option to just roll back. So we can do our transaction roll back, and it will roll back the movie saved. And since this failed, it won't be committed, but we don't want the movie if we can't add Al Pacino to it. Who wants a movie without Al Pacino, right? So that's fairly clever. One thing that's even smarter is the option to create save points. So let's say we're in a scenario where we want the movie to actually save the changes. We can do a transaction save point. So that's simply transaction create save point, and we give it a name. We can call it movie added. And instead of just rolling back everything, we can roll back to save point, and it needs the name, and that's movie added. And and we still have our transaction commit down here. So really not that much to it. You can do a bunch of stuff with it. You can do multiple contexts and all this cool stuff, but it's basically just a way for you to control the flow of data in the transaction. Simple, right? But with some really nice to have features built into it. Now, there's a lot you can do and a lot that is kind of out of your hands. We're going to be kind of only scratching the surface of what you can actually do, but there are some tips in here and some nice to know things that I'm going to share with you because I'm nice like that. Anywho, so optimization is primarily about limiting how much data you get, so you only get the data you actually need. So I'm going to create a new endpoint because for some reason I decided to well, get a web API and not a console app, which would have been smarter. So let's say that I have this movie database that I have absolutely spammed for the sake of this little exercise. So there's a lot of movies in here now. There's actually also a lot of actors with the same name. We can view data. So there's a ton of those. Anywho, doesn't matter. We're going to be working with movies. Now, let's say I want a list of the movie titles. So let's do an endpoint where we do a list of string. And we call it optimization. Cool. So what we could do is go here, say go movies, and go demo context movies to list. And now we have all the movies, but we know we don't need that. What we need is the titles. So limiting the amount of data you're asking will help you save huge amounts of data and time in the long run. So what we can do is go select and say that we want only the title. So now we have a list of strings and we can return that. And everything should be good. So let's try and run it and see what happens. Optimization. There's something wrong there. Anywho, doesn't matter. And let's execute. And we get just the movie titles. And we get all of them. So that's, I think it's more than 2,000 records we just blast out like this. Now, we save a lot of data by saying we only want the title. And using the select, we can kind of pick out what we want. Now, maybe we don't want all the movies. Maybe we only want the first 100. So we can say take 100. This is a basic link. So there's no magic going on here. We might want to have pagination, so we can say skip. We can do int skip int take as a parameters, and we can say take is take and skip is skip. So in this way, we with parameters can say that we want to skip the first 100 and then take 100. While doing this, we again severely limits how much data we're querying for. and that will limit the load, and that will limit the memory usage, which is clever and kind of what we want. Cool. Makes sense, right? Easy peasy. Nothing really special in this. So it is, when it comes to optimization, it is really a question about thinking. Just as you would if you're doing normal SQL. You only select the columns that you want. You only take the amount of data that you want. Something you can do. So something you can do as well that will save quite a bit of data is adding as node tracking. Now this can be done globally, but in this case let's just do it under statement. And basically Entity Framework tracks all transactions with the database, and it does that in order to handle it in regards to updating and saving data. But if you're only fetching data from the database, you don't really need that tracking, and it is an overhead of about 30% memory usage, and you can get rid of it really easy with as no tracking. Whoop. And there we go. So now we have severely limited the amount of data or memory usage for this statement. Nifty, if you didn't know it already, as no tracking. Now, it's only to be used if you are not going to manipulate the data. You're gonna want it if you have the ambition of updating or manipulating the result set here. So let's just try and run it so you can see what I was actually talking about. So try it out. We'll skip 100, we'll take 100, and we will execute. And we get our result set of 100. So that's basically it. There is, of course, a lot more you can do to optimize, and it's all about turning the dials back and forth until you find something that actually works well for you. But really basic, as no tracking. Remember that when you're reading, select only what you want, take only what you need. We're going to talk about everything being async, because if you want your application to be scalable, we need to async it up. That's just how it is. So let's make all the three methods endpoints we have created during this tiny course async. Why not? So let's do we need a cancellation token, and we need that so we are able to cancel operations. It's a part of the async thing, and in this case we're just going to set it to default. Good. Now we have our cancellation token. So let's start out with our list here. We are going to add the async keyword, and it's going to be a task. I am going to do a tiny course about how to do everything async. How to use async. But for this, it's just going to be minded against the Entity Framework. So yeah, all the Entity Framework work methods, more or less, has the opportunity to be async. So we can do toList async, and we will pass in our cancellation token. There we go. And when we do something async, we have to do what? We have to await it. Cool. And then we can return the movie. So simply changing list toList to toList async gets that job done. And it's the same down here. So I don't really want to repeat it. But let's look at the saving and updating. So, let's make this an async task. And let's start by going add async and passing in the our cancellation token. Jesus, if I could hit the buttons. And we need to await it. Lovely jubbly. And it's actually the same thing with the save changes. We do save changes async, and we give it a cancellation token. Jesus, I can't hit the buttons. There we go, cancellation token. Now create save point. We can actually do that async as well. So we will just add in the cancellation token, and we will remember to await it. Single or default. Hey, we have an async there as well. So we can do a cancellation token. And we will await it. That's right. It's the same for update. Oh. Oh. Maybe it doesn't have an async. Update. Ah. So we have execute update async. Alright, fine. We'll let that be for now. But we can still do our save changes async. And adding the cancellation token and awaiting it. And we can commit our transactions async. Add the cancellation token. And await it. So I think that, except for the update part. I wonder why we can't do that. Oh, well, we can. Should try it out. Execute update async. So it's an add async. Well, we don't want to add it. We want to update it. Ah, fuck it. We'll leave it for now. And let's try and run this. At some point. There we go. So let's do the optimization thing. Let's try it out. Let's skip 0 and take 1000. Execute. And there we go. So exact same thing, only async. We can do the same thing with CRUD. Try it out. Execute. And it works. So now you also know how to async it up, which is something that you will be happy for later on. Anywho, this is actually the end of this small series. And I hope you learned something. I hope you found the information useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments. I will try to answer to the best of my ability. And yeah, thank you for your time. Hope I will see you for another upload at some point. And have a lovely day. Bye.